Created with free version for non-commercial use.
Good afternoon. The bottom line. Each of the bottom line sections in the chapters suggest exercises to deepen skills and understanding. Sometimes there is only one possible solution, but often you are encouraged to use your skills and creativity to create something that builds on what you know and lets you explore one of many possible solutions. Chapter 1, Understanding the Principles of BIM. Focus your investment in BIM. Since using Revit software is a change in workflow, it is also important to understand the change in staffing and who is needed to perform what roles on a project. Master it. What are the three primary roles in a Revit project, and what are the responsibilities of those roles? Solution. Every successful Revit project will need three roles. These roles do not need to be individual people. One person can assume all three roles at any point in the project. The roles are architect, modeler, and drafter.
Created with free version for non-commercial use.
These roles are responsible for understanding and articulating the design, creating model content, and laying out and annotating the documentation respectively. Understanding a BIM workflow. Understand how projects are completed in BIM and how the use of Revit software on a project can change how information within a project is created. Master it. Explain one of the primary differences between a more traditional 2D CAD-based workflow and producing documents using Revit. Solution. In a 2D CAD-based workflow, documents are created by team members by creating plans, sections, elevations, and details, all as separate drawings, and then manually coordinating that content for the project set. In a BIM or Revit workflow, the plans, sections, elevations, and perspectives are a byproduct of creating the virtual building model and are coordinated through updates made to the model itself. Leverage BIM processes. Understanding the level of risk your firm is willing to take in new technologies will help you establish goals for your future use of BIM. Master it. Using the three areas of firm integration, visualization, analysis, and strategy, define how those areas overlap for your firm or project. Solution. Remember, there is no wrong answer in mapping a path forward for your firm or project. The important thing is to identify which areas are critical to the workflow of your firm to help you focus your future efforts. Chapter 2, Exploring the User Interface and Organizing Projects. Understand the user interface. In addition to understanding how your project is organized, to use the Revit software well, you must understand how the user interface is organized. Once you grasp both of these concepts, you'll be ready to move ahead. Master it. The areas of the user interface are the ribbon, the properties palette, the project browser, and the drawing area. How do these areas work together, and what tabs correspond to an iterative design process? Solution. The architecture tab is where you'll turn in your early design process because it contains data objects, system families, component families, and spaces. As the design develops, you'll establish your views from the View tab. When you start to get into documentation, you'll work from the Annotation tab. Having panels from the Modify tab pulled off and close at hand will keep you from having to go between one contextual tab and another. Understand project organization. The compelling advantage of being able to design, document, and manage a project across multiple disciplines, the architectural, structural, and mechanical disciplines, is something that you can do in Revit. And understanding project workflow is key to getting off on the right foot. Thinking back to the Revit organizational chart shown, and we've seen this. I'd like you to search for one, and you'll see. You'll think back to the Revit organizational chart. And you'll ask yourself, what are the main components of a Revit project? And how can you apply them to your design process? How do these categories directly affect your design workflow? Solution. The top-level categories of a Revit project are datum, content, views, and management. They correspond to the design process of maintaining relationships, repetition, representations, and restrictions. Keep these corollaries in mind as you move sequentially from schematic design, design development, construction documentation, and construction management. Chapter 3, the basics of the tool. Select, modify, and replace elements. Many fundamental interactions are supported by Revit software, such as select just what you need to
Created with
modify
free version for
elements
non-commercial
efficiently.
use.
Master it. How can you quickly select only the door tags in the plan view and switch them to another type? Solution. First, window select the entire plan. Then use the filter tool in the Modify tab of the ribbon. Select only the door tags category. Close the filter dialog box and change the type in the Properties palette. Edit elements interactively. The editing tools in Revit are similar to those found in other CAD and BIM software programs. Tools such as Move, Copy, and Trim are available on the Modify tab of the ribbon. Master it. How do you create a parametric repetition of an element? Solution. Select an element and activate the Array tool from the Modify tab of the ribbon. Select a linear array, the Group and Associate option. Group and Associate option. The beep sometimes hides the curse. And choose either
Created with
Move
free
to
version for
second
non-commercial
for
use.
specific element spacing, or Move to last for consistent overall length with varied element spacing. Use other editing tools beyond the basic editing tools and our more advanced commands to help you consistently and intelligently populate a building model with content. Master it. How do you copy model elements in the same location for a multi-story building? Solution. Select the required elements and copy them to the clipboard, Control-C. From the clipboard panel in the Modify tab, select Paste Align to selected levels, and then choose the levels to which you'd like to paste the copied content. Explore A360 features for collaboration. While Revit is a great interface for creating and editing project content, there are times when you share the model with clients or consultants who don't have Revit. Master it. Describe the functionalities and limitations of loading your project model up to HTTP a360.autodesk.com. Solution. A360 allows for visualization of model
Created
views,
with
both
free
2D
version
and
for
3D.
non-commercial use.
Markups, commenting, and the ability to pull properties of selected elements. What the A360 site does not allow is any editing of the model content. Adding, deleting, or modifying model geometry or data can only be done in the native Revit application. Create site context for your project. The site tool, plural, allow you to create context for your building models, including topographic surfaces, graded regions, and property lines. Master it. Describe the different methods used to create a topographic surface. Solution. A topographic surface can be created by placing points at specific elevations relative to internal project coordinates by using an imported 3D CAD file from a civil engineering software program, or by using a text file that contains the X, Y, and Z coordinates of a field of points.
Created with free version for non-commercial
Chapter 4,
use.
Configuring Templates and Standards. Define settings for graphic quality and consistency. The fundamental building blocks for any template are the customized settings for object styles, line styles, fill patterns, materials, and more. Master it. How can a complex custom fill pattern be important? And how can it be imported? Solution. Use a text editing application to create a custom pattern or copy a pattern from another application. Be sure to add lines to the pattern definition that describe the units and pattern type. In the new pattern dialog box, choose Custom and click the Import button to select your custom pattern file. Adjust the pattern as necessary for the desired result. Organize views for maximum efficiency. The project template can be used to capture a framework supporting your visual and organizational standards. Master it. How can you customize the project browser to support your business needs? Solution.
Created with free
Filtering
version for
folders
non-commercial use.
based on view types and documentation helps team members quickly find what they're looking for in a project. Your project template can also exclude views that are not needed based on a specific task. For example, if you're in design development, you can exclude previous views and sheets that were part of a previous schematic design stage. Create custom annotation families. Developing a graphic style to match your standards will usually require you to edit some annotation families or create them from scratch. Master it. Can a single label display more than one parameter? How are custom view tags loaded into a project? Solution. A single label can show more than one parameter and even custom parameters. Just remember to place the label with the label tool. Assign a label to report the desired parameters. Start a project with a custom template. Making your custom template available for new projects ensures that all future projects will maintain the same level of graphic quality and efficiency you
Created
expect.
with free version for
Master it.
non-commercial use.
How do you set your own custom project template to be the default for new projects? Solution. Click the Application button, select the Options button, and navigate to the File Locations tab. Click the Browse button for the default template file field, and navigate to the location of your custom project template. From now on, click the Application button, select New Project, and select New in the Recent Files window, or press Ctrl+N to use your new template as the basis for the new project. Develop a template management strategy. Organizing your standards, content, and settings using Revit tools to transfer content will make your effort more efficient. Master it. How do you insert your standard details from one Revit project to another? How do you transfer settings such as materials? Solution. 2D content such as standard details can be stored in separate Revit project files and loaded when needed. One way to do this is with the Insert Views from File tool in the Insert tab. Select the Revit project file and then choose eligible views such as drafting views, sheets, or schedules.
Created with free version
They're
for
transferred into your
non-commercial
active
use.
project with all associated parameters. To transfer project settings and styles such as materials, select the Manage tab and click Transfer Project Standards. Remember to open another project from which you'd like to transfer settings before running this tool. Chapter 5, Collaborating with a Team. Understand key work sharing concepts. Once the team has created local files, it is necessary to understand how to keep both the local files and the central file up to date as changes occur on the project. Doing so ensures that everyone is working from an updated and recent copy of the model at all times. Master it. Once you have begun working in your local file, how do you publish your changes to the central file? How do you download changes from the central file to your local file? Solution. The easiest way to do this is by using the Synchronize with Central command, which is accessible from the Collaborate tab and also from the Quick Access toolbar. To download changes from others without uploading your latest work, use the Reload Latest command, or RL, shortcut
Created with
key.
free version for non-commercial use.
Enable work sharing on your project. Knowing how to activate and use work sharing is indispensable to working in a team environment using Revit. Master it. How do you transition a single user Revit file to multi-user environment using work sharing? Solution. To activate work sharing, click the Work Sets button on the Collaborate tab. This will initiate the work sharing feature and divide your model into the two default work sets. To allow others to access the model, you will need to choose File Save As and save the file to a network location. After this, close the file. Each team member then makes a local copy of this network file and works exclusively within his or her local copy. Organize work sets in your model. There is no single rule for organizing work sets in your project models. However, they can be used to your team's advantage. You can use work sets to better organize larger projects and for additional visibility control.
Created with free
Master it.
version for
How do you
non-commercial
assign
use.
objects to work sets? How do you change an object's work set assignment? Solution. As model elements are added to a project, they are assigned to the active work set selected by the user. The active work set is visible either in the Collaborate tab in the ribbon or in the status bar. An object's work set assignment can be changed in the Properties palette at any time. Manage workflow with work sharing. Once the central has been created, you will need to organize and structure the model into logical work sets to maintain workflow within Revit. Master it. How do work sets differ from layers in 2D CAD? What are some logical ways to create work sets within a model? Solution. 2D CAD layers were logically divided around individual elements in isolated files. In Revit, because everything is one file, and you are working with 3D objects, not just model lines, you need to use work sets to divide the building in different ways. Some logical work set divisions would be shell and core, interiors,
Created with free version
FF&E,
for
and site.
non-commercial use.
Understand element ownership in work sets. Editing elements in a central file means you have sole ownership over further changes to those elements. Understanding the permissions is critical to working in a team. Master it. How do you edit an element in the model if someone has already taken ownership of it in a work-sharing environment? Solution. Trying to edit the element initiates a request for permissions in Revit. When you alert the other team member of your desire to have ownership of this element, that person can grant you permission request using the Edit Requests button on the Collaborate tab. Collaborate in the cloud. Not all of your team members will be Revit savvy and know how to use the tools. In addition, not everyone on the team will have a copy of Revit, but you might still need their input and comments on the design. Learning to leverage complementary tools to Revit is critical to keeping a project moving smoothly. Master, how do you use the cloud base to get feedback from non-Revit users on a project team? Solution. Create a series of views in your project, making sure to name them in a way that is easy for other team members to understand. These views can be plans, sections, elevations, or 3D views. Share the Revit model with team members using website. The site will allow them to browse the views and add comments. Chapter 6, Working with Consultants. Prepare for interdisciplinary collaboration. Proper planning and communication are the foundation of effective collaboration. Although only some client organizations may require a BIM planning document, it is a recommended strategy for all design teams. Master it. What are the key elements of a BIM execution plan? Solution. An effective BIM execution plan will first list the goals and uses of building information modeling, as well as the scope of the data to be developed. It will also list the software platforms to be used, information exchange process, delivery strategy, and technology infrastructure. Collaborate using linked Revit models. The most basic tool for collaboration is the ability to view consultants' data directly within the context of your own model. Project files from other disciplines can be linked and displayed with predictable visual fidelity without complex conversion processes. Master it. How can work sharing complement the use of linked Revit models? Solution. Placing each linked model on a unique work set allows team members to choose when to load or unload the linked models without affecting their teammates' work sets within linked models. It can also help you manage graphic quality using the ability to load or unload work sets globally. Use Copy Monitor between linked models. The Coordination Monitor tool establishes intelligent bonds between elements in a host file and correlating elements in a linked model. They also support a workflow that respects the needs of discrete teams, developing their own data, perhaps on a different schedule than that of other team members. Master it. How can grids in two different Revit projects be related? Solution. The Copy Monitor allows you to copy elements such as grids from a linked file into a host file and monitor the linked element for changes. Run interference checks. Interference checking, also known as clash detection, is one of the most important components of building information modeling. It is the essence of virtual construction and has the greatest potential for cost savings during the physical construction process. Master it. How do you find interfering objects between two linked Revit models? Solution. On the Collaborate tab, locate the Coordinate panel and choose Interference Check Run Interference Check. If you're using linked models, select the desired linked project in the categories form drop-down list while keeping the other columns set to current project. Select the desired object categories in the left and right columns. For example, choose structural framing from a structural model and ducts from an MEP model.
Created with
Click
free
OK
version
to
for
run the check.
non-commercial use.
The results can be exported to a report for coordination with others. Chapter 7, Interoperability, Working Multi-Platform. Use imported 2D CAD data. CAD data can be integrated into your Revit project in a number of ways. As plans of existing conditions, as fixture layouts from consultants, or as standard details from your company's library. Master it. How can CAD details be used in a Revit project? Solution. Create a new drafting view for a single detail from the Insert tab. Choose Link CAD and select the DWG detail file. During linking, set the colors to black and white. Make sure the scale of the drafting view matches the notation scale of the CAD detail. Use the Query tool to turn off unwanted layers within the linked file. Export 2D CAD data. The ability to deliver quality 2D information to other constituents involved in your project is as important as importing it into the Revit environment. Appropriately, Formatted views, standardized layer
Created with
templates,
free
and proper
version for
coordinate settings will
non-commercial
result
use.
in happy team members and a smooth coordination process. Master it. Does Revit software comply with the National CAD standard? Solution. Absolutely. Yes, of course. You have the ability to map Revit model categories to standardized layers in the Export Layers dialog box. Access this tool by clicking the application menu and selecting Export option, Export Layers DWG/DWXF. Load industry standard layer conventions using the standard button. Use imported 3D model data. Model data generated outside of the Revit environment can be integrated into your projects as whole building systems, massing studies, or unique components. Master it. How can a building structural model created with the Bentley structure be integrated into a Revit project? Solution. Create a structural family into which the ZGN model will be inserted. When the family is finished, the ZGN geometry will be displayed
Created
as
with
any
free
other Revit
version for
structural framing
non-commercial use.
component. Export 3D model data. Your modeled elements don't have to remain in the Revit environment forever. Data can be exported to 3D Studio Max, SketchUp, AutoCAD MEP, and more. Master it. How can you coordinate your architectural Revit model with an engineer using AutoCAD MEP? Solution. The engineer will likely require one DWG model per level for efficient coordination. Create duplicate floor plans for exporting and adjust the view range settings for top to level above, offset 0, and bottom to associated level, offset 0. Create duplicate 3D views for each level, right-click the view cube, choose Orient to View floor plans, and find the corresponding floor plans. These 3D views can be batch exported to DWG format and referenced by the MEP engineer in the designs. Work with Industry Foundation Class imports and exports. Industry Foundation Class's IFC is a vendor-neutral model format designed to support interoperability in the AEC industry.
Created with free version for non-commercial use.
It is widely used by some major BIM platforms available around the world. Master it. How is an Industry Foundation Class model integrated into a Revit project for coordination? Solution. You can open an Industry Foundation Class file by clicking the application menu and selecting Open Industry Foundation Class. Once the file is open, the data can be saved as an RVT Revit project file and linked into another Revit file for continued coordination. Chapter 8, Managing Revit Projects. Understanding how to conduct Revit BIM administration. Revit BIM administration is intended to address two key components of project delivery: general workflows, processes, and quality assurance, quality control. Master it. Describe the ideal BIM Revit quality assurance, quality control approach. Solution. Put into place a quality assurance, quality control program that incrementally reviews the Revit project throughout all phases of the project. This approach will ensure consistency, quality, and accuracy of the information. Explain how your quality assurance, quality control processes will work. The administration of Revit is reliant on process. All people participating on the project must understand how an activity starts, who conducts the activity, the possible results during the activity, and how the activity ends. Master it. Draw a swim lane process diagram that depicts your desired Revit quality assurance, quality control process. Solution. The swim lane process diagram depicting a desired Revit quality assurance, quality control program may vary between individuals, but the methodology described as follows will remain consistent. First, identify all parties needed to conduct the quality assurance, quality control process. This establishes the swim lanes. Denote which party starts the quality assurance, quality control, and then map all activities to its respective swim lane. Denote the change in ownership of the quality assurance, quality control activity by connecting the transitions between the swim lanes. The final transition that represents where the activity ends should reside in the swim lane of the party who completes the activity. Understanding important Revit metrics. Revit metrics can be graphically analyzed to discern characteristics of a Revit model or a group of Revit models. The visual analysis is always in relation to contextual information that is considered relevant to the analysis. Master it. Describe an example of Revit visual analysis and potential application for conducting quality assurance, quality control on a set of Revit models. Solution. The file sizes of Revit models can be plotted in sequence within a graph, overlaying contextual information such as Maximum allowable file size range allows for quick visual clarity regarding which files are below the range, but within the range, and exceeding the range. The Revit files that are denoted as exceeding the range can be marked for further analysis because of their non-conformance.
Created with free version for non-commercial use.
Chapter 9. Advanced Modeling and Massing. Create and schedule massing studies. Starting the design process with actual building elements can lead to a lot of unexpected frustration. Walls lead to rooms, which get room tags and are eventually scheduled. If you have failed to fulfill the client's program, you will wonder where to start over. Master it. You are faced with creating some decision studies and some design studies of a large hospital complex. How would you go about creating a Revit project that would allow you to create a massing study and schedule it against the design client's programs? Solution. Massing studies allow you to create schedules of the surface, floor areas, and volumes of a mass. This is incredibly helpful for resolving the design intent in client's program before committing to walls, floors, and other building geometry. Know when to use solid and surface massing. Solid masses and surface masses can both be used to maintain relationships to host geometry such as walls and roofs, but surface masses cannot be volumetrically scheduled or contain floor area faces. Master it. You have been asked to create a complex canopy system for the entry to a hospital project or a hotel project. The system will consist of a complex wave of triangular panels. What kind of mass would you create? Solution. You are probably going to be better off not creating a solid mass because you do not need a solid. You need only a surface. It is best to use solids when you have to calculate the client's overall design program, floor area, surface, and volume. For limited surface-based relationships, use surface massing. Surface masses will help you resolve the overall design idea first. Then you can move on to patterns and eventually component-level geometry. Use mathematical formulas for massing. Not all massing is going to involve intuitive, in-the-moment decision-making. By discovering the underlying rules that express a form, you can create the formulas that can iterate and manipulate your massing study. So rather than manually manipulating the mass, you manually manipulate the formulas related to your mass. Master it. What is the best way to discover and create those formulas? Solution. Never stop sketching. Staring at a blank spreadsheet in a one-way road to frustration is a one-way road to frustration. Sketch the idea and try to discern the rules that make the form change and morph into your design idea. Once you have discovered the rules that contain the idea, start testing the rules. Once you find that the idea of principle is valid, it is simply a matter of scale. Chapter 10. Conceptual Design. Get started with Autodesk Dynamo. Dynamo has a simple, straightforward user interface. Becoming comfortable with the parts of the user interface allow you more flexibility and lower frustration when learning the application, either as a novice or on your road to becoming an expert. Master it. What are the 4 primary sections of the user interface? Solution. The following are the 4 primary sections of the Dynamo user interface. The toolbar, node library, workspace, execution bar. Connect nodes to make data flow. Connecting nodes is the true power behind Dynamo. The connections, visually and programmatically, show data flow and the path of information from beginning to end to create the form, run the analysis, and provide whatever is the desired output. Understanding the basis of connecting nodes is the first step to creating your own Dynamo definition. Master it. Describe the workflow to create a series of nodes and collect them properly.
Created with free version for non-commercial use.
Solutions. Nodes are added by searching for them in the node library and adding them to the workspace. This can be done via dynamic search or by browsing through the library and clicking a node. Once added to the workspace, nodes output on the right and input on the left. Connecting nodes is done by dragging the right output of one node to the left input of another node, creating a sequence for the data to flow. The sequence or definition is the visual program. Use additional Dynamo tools. While Dynamo is a robust programming application, there are additional tools you can use to further leverage its capabilities. Master it. Describe some of the tools external to Dynamo. They can be used to push the capabilities of the application even further. Solution. Several applications can interface with Dynamo. The first and most obvious one is Revit. Revit can be used as a workspace of sorts to create geometry as a data set to pull information from, if you want, to perform any type of analysis on a project file. Excel is another application that can help feed long lists of data, numbers, strings, and so on, into Dynamo to cut down on manual entry or as a pass-through application. In this last example, you might pull room areas from an Excel-based building program and push them into Dynamo to test design room sizes. Finally, there's the Dynamo Package Manager that allows more advanced users a way to give back to the Dynamo community and create their own nodes and other content. Understand the Autodesk Format to Revit workflow. Format was designed to optimize model interoperability between the conceptual design phase and schematic design phase. Most Revit models get started. Master it. Design the Format to Revit workflow and note the key benefits. Solution. Format models are meant to optimize interoperability between early project phases. Not only is the geometry interoperable, but it also has other model traits such as project orientation, location, and materiality. Chapter 11, Working with Phasing Groups and Design Options. Using the phasing tools to create, demolish, and propose a new design. Time is such an important element to the design process and nearly impossible to capture with traditional CAD tools. Do not use phasing for construction sequencing. There is a better way. Embrace phasing for communication, not just illustration. Master, how can you use phasing to communicate your design across a series of key stages? What kind of project is best suited to phasing? Solution. From the Manage tab, you can access the settings from phases. You can create phases for the major stages of work in your project, as well as filters and graphic overrides to illustrate the overall design approach. Use the phase and phase filter view properties to customize project views, including schedules. Set the phase created and phase demolished properties of model elements to adapt to the project phases. Any kind of project can use phasing, but tenant improvement projects benefit the most from the ability to document existing conditions and demolition. Understand and use groups. Groups are great for customizing and creating collections of both host and family component geometry. Just remember to apply best practices and you will avoid a lot of common roadblocks. Individual model elements within groups will always appear properly in schedules, as you would expect. Finally, creating exceptions in groups allows you to make subtle changes without creating a new group. Master it. Why should you not mirror groups? Solution. Although mirroring groups works conceptually, it breaks down in implementation. Just because you can mirror something in Revit does not mean that it can actually be manufactured that way. And even more confusion can result if the mirrored objects have to be empowered, accessed, maintained, and so on in an impossible condition. Mirroring groups has been known to create so much hassle that you are better off avoiding it. Create and use design options. Like groups, design options work great when you follow the rules. Design options are intended for design iteration that is bounded and well-defined, not for putting multiple buildings in one project file. Remember that links, groups, and phasing can exist within design options. Always keep hosted elements with their host when using design options. Master it. Suppose you have a multi-story tower. How could you show multiple design options for the entire vertical exterior enclosure? Solution. Put each enclosure option in a different project file and link these files into one master project file. Then associate each of the links with a different design option. Eventually, you set and accept the primary option. Then bind the link and the chosen enclosure will become a group within your project. The group can be ungrouped to continue editing the final design. Chapter 12, the visualization. Create real-time and rendered analytic visualizations. Analytic visualization is the concept of communicating information about your project in a non-literal way. And it's very important. It's not about showing you materials in the project, but about using filters to visualize important metadata. Master it. During the renovation of a space, you want to reuse the doors rather than throw them away. How would you illustrate this? Solution. Assign an instance parameter to the doors called recycle. Then, apply this value to all doors fulfilling these criteria in your project. Now you can use the parameter to create a view filter to illustrate where these reused doors are being used. Render emotive photorealistic visualizations. Render emotive photorealistic visualizations. I'm going to say that over and over and over again. Render emotive photorealistic visualizations. Render realistic photorealistic visualizations. Render emotive realistic photorealistic visualizations. Render emotive photorealistic
Created with free version for
visualizations.
non-commercial use.
Photorealistic visualization is about communicating design ideas, but in emotive ways that are much closer to how the space will be experienced, including real lighting, materials, and entourage. Just remember that the time it takes to calculate and render your views will change dramatically based on the quality and resolution of your views. Master, would the rendering for a PowerPoint presentation differ from a rendering being printed for a marketing brochure? Solution. The rendering for the PowerPoint presentation needs only to be about 150 dpi, whereas the rendering for the printing needs to be 300 dpi. A 300 dpi image will take much longer to render than a 150 dpi image, even though they'll look the same on the screen. Understand the importance of sequencing your visualization workflow. The sequence of design, building, content, materials, and cameras
Created with free
is not the
version for
same as the
non-commercial
sequence
use.
for visualization, geometry, cameras, lighting, and materials. Lighting is far more important than materials of actual objects. Get the lighting right and the materials will look great, but not the other way around. Master, how do you create a rendering environment that replaces the actual materials with matte materials in order to study the effects of lighting on your design? Solution. Use phase filter to create a material override and assign the analytic filter to the view that you're rendering. Understanding what virtual reality means to your practice, there must be a reason to pursue VR. Simply engaging in it because it is the emerging technology will cause you to miss the mark. To effectively pursue virtual reality, be sure to identify the use cases such as design review or marketing. Once you have established the use cases, then only invest in the appropriate tools. Master, what is the difference between VR and augmented reality? Solution. Virtual reality is an immersive 3D simulation that is viewed as reality.
Created with
Augmented
free version
reality
for non-commercial
is
use.
the compositing of imagery to what is physically being seen. Augmenting reality is the composing imagery to what is physically being seen. Chapter 13. Creating walls and curtain walls. Use extended modeling techniques for basic walls. Walls in Revit are made from layers of materials that can represent everything from generic placeholders for design layouts to complete assemblies representative of actual construction. Master it. How can you customize the profile of a wall? Solution. A wall can be attached to another object such as a roof, floor, or reference plane. Select a wall, activate the Attach Top Base tool, and pick the object to which the wall should be attached. You can also edit the profile of a wall in elevation by selecting a wall, activating the Edit Profile tool, and modifying the sketch of a wall. Create stacked walls. Exterior walls are usually composed of several combinations of materials with varying thicknesses. These various wall types can be combined into a single entity called a stacked wall. Master it. How do you create a stacked wall? Solution. You must duplicate an existing stacked wall type within a project. In Type Properties, open the Edit Assembly dialog box and add any combination of basic walls into the stacked wall structure. Create simple curtain walls. A curtain wall is an assembly of parts, including curtain grids, panels, and mullions, and shame. They can be created in predefined types with regular horizontal and vertical spacing along with vertical panel and mullion types. Master it. How do you add a door to a curtain wall that can't get over its own shame? And it's self-medicating because it's ashamed of itself. How do you add a door to that? Use the tab
Created
key.
with free version for non-commercial use.
Use the tab key to select a single panel in a curtain wall segment. If the panel is part of a predefined system, you must unpin the panel first. From the type selector, choose a curtain panel door family. Create complex curtain walls. The Revit conceptual massing environment can be used to create complex curtain wall configurations. Pattern-based panel families can be loaded into the massing environment and populated on a divided surface. These populated surfaces can be loaded and placed in a project model for documentation and scheduling. Master it. How do you create a complex divided surface? Solution. From the Recent Files window, select New Conceptual Mass. Add a second level to the family and
Created
draw a
with free
curved line
version
on
for
each side.
non-commercial use.
Select the two lines and click Create Form. Choose the Planar Surface option. Select the new form and click the Divide Surfaces button on the ribbon. Chapter 14, Modeling Floors, Ceilings, and Roofs. Understand floor modeling methods. Floors make up one of the most fundamental sketch-based system families used in a Revit model. You can customize them to accommodate a variety of assumptions at various stages of design. Master it. How can you create a structural floor with integrated metal decking? Solution. You can create a structural floor by going to the Architectural tab of the ribbon and clicking Floor Structural Floor. This tool activates the structural parameter in a floor's instance properties. Once this is activated, adds the floor's type properties to add a structural deck layer and assign a deck profile. Model various floor finishes. Thick and thin floor finishes can be created to support tagging, scheduling, and quantity takeoffs. Master it. How would you represent a thin finish material in your project such as carpet? Solution. Activate the Split Face tool from the Modify tab of the ribbon. Select a floor and
Created
define the
with free
boundaries of the
version
area
for
assigned
non-commercial
as the
use.
thin material. Activate the Paint tool, select the appropriate material, and click the Split Face tool created within the floor. Create ceilings. Ceilings are sketch-based families, and they're system families that can host objects, such as light fixtures and HVAC diffusers. Master it. What is the best way to model a ceiling within a space? Solution. Ceilings are best created in a ceiling plane. Activate the ceiling tool from the Build panel in the Architecture tab of the ribbon. Specify a value for the height offset from level setting of the ceiling in the Properties palette, and use Automatic Ceiling to fill a bounded space with a ceiling object. Understand roof modeling methods. Roofs can be modeled as simple single-pitch shed roofs or complex extrusions or sinuous curves. Master it. What is the best way to create a single vaulted roof? The roof is best created with the Roof by Extrusion method. Go to the Architecture tab of the ribbon and click Roof by Extrusion.
Created with free
Specify
version
a
for
wall
non-commercial use.
or reference plane as the work plane and switch to an elevation section of 3D view. Draw the profile of a vaulted roof and click Edit Mode. Adjust the extent of the extrusion as desired. Work with advanced shape editing for floors and roofs. A small but powerful toolset is available for extending editing of floor and roof objects. These tools allow you to create warped floor slabs and tapered layers of roof assemblies. Mastered. How do you create a drainage point in a flat roof slab? Select the roof object and activate the Split Line tool from the Shape Editing panel in the ribbon. Draw two crossing lines from the four corners of the roof boundaries. Activate the Modify Sub-Elements tool and select a point where the split lines cross. Change the value that appears to create a low drainage depression in the slab. Chapter 15, Designing with the Family Editor. I hope that you're enjoying this. I hope that you're enjoying designing with the Family Editor. Get started
Created
with
with
the
free
family.
version for
with the
non-commercial
family.
use.
Before you start to create your own family components, to think about how you expect that component to behave in your project. The role of the family editor is not just an environment to model geometry. It also determines how that content that you create will behave in the project environment. Master it. Choosing the right template is critical. You can convert from one family template to another, but this is not always the case. Why would you want to choose a door template rather than a generic model template? Solution. Balusters, curtain panels, detail components, and hosted elements all have specific predefined behavior. Plan ahead when you are creating these categories. Objects that need to cut their host, like doors and windows, must be created in templates that are hardwired to contain a portion of the host that will be cut. This allows you to create the door or window and also cut the host in the way that it needs to be cut in the project. Create the framework for a family component. Reference planes, points, and lines are the bones of your component. Assign parameters to the skeleton
Created
and the
with
geometry
free
will
version
follow
for
along.
non-commercial use.
Be sure to test the parameters and reference relationships before you start to create any solid model geometry. Master it. Why should you build, assign parameters to, and test the references first? Why not just model the geometry? Testing the references and parameters before you add geometry keeps things simple and helps you troubleshoot parametric behavior before building the geometry. Remember to keep parametric dimensions outside of sketch mode so that you can, and others can, easily find them later. After you have tested the parameters and references successfully, you can be confident that your geometry will behave predictably. Understanding family modeling techniques. Although the family editor contains a wide assortment of modeling and editing tools, you do not always need to build everything in one file. You can use a number of techniques to reduce redundancy and manage complex geometry for a component family. Master, when would you consider using the technique of nesting families? How could this method improve the efficiency of a component family?
Created with free version
Solution.
for non-commercial use.
Anytime you need to create a repetitive element within a family, you should consider using a nested family. This method allows you to build the repetitive element only once, and you will maintain better control of the placement of the nested component within its host. You can also use multiple nested families as a way to explore various design solutions for a component or to efficiently manage subcomponents such as different hardware types for a door. Apply extended family management techniques. Sometimes parametric behavior will depend on the parameters that directly control it, but often these parameters will be expressed as a relationship to something else. Master it. Why are formulas so important? Why not just create the parameters you need and then modify them as needed in the project environment? Solution. Formulaic relationships help maintain rules within a family so that changing one rule can have an effect on many other users or many others to a certain extent. Using formulas, therefore, allows you to drive one parameter based on the value of another, based on the value
Created
of another,
with free version
based
for
on the value of
non-commercial
another,
use.
based on the value of another. And the result can drive a length, material, or other rules-driven rules-based value, or other rules-based value. When you have many parametric type permutations, it is not necessarily sometimes better to weigh or not. Could very well be that you need to not weigh. But if indeed it is your intent, then when you have many parametric type permutations, it is better not to weigh your project down with a lot of options that you'll probably never use. Whenever this happens, do not load all the possible types in your project. Just turn to a type catalog in order to select only the family types that you need, since you do not want to have to remember all these relationships manually. Allow Revit to maintain them for you. Solution. Formulaic relationships help maintain rules within a family, so that changing one rule can have an effect on the others. Using formulas, therefore, allows you to drive one parameter based on the
Created with
value
free
of
version
another,
for non-commercial
and the
use.
result can drive a length, material, or other based rule value. When you have many parametric type permutations, it is better not to weigh your project down with a lot of options that you'll probably never use. Whenever this happens, do not load all the possible types in your project. Just turn to a type catalog in order to select only the family types that you need. Since you do not want to have to remember all these relationships manually, allow Revit to maintain them for you. Chapter 16, Creating Stairs and Railings. Understanding the key components of stairs and railings. Having a complete understanding of the components of stairs is important. You do not want to set about breaking the rules until you understand how best and when those rules can be mastered. What are the essential parts of stairs? Solution. Baluster posts, balusters,
with free version
and
for
baluster panels,
non-commercial
along
use.
with handrail profiles, are the essential parts of any railing. Nosing, stringers, and treads are the essential parts of stairs. Having a firm understanding of how these components react to changes in their respective dialog boxes is critical. Understand the difference, stair tools, and apply them to custom designs. Designing in a spreadsheet is hard. Step back and consider, what are you trying to accomplish? If you were to look at the components that make up stairs, you will see some interesting opportunities. Master, how would you create a continuous tread that was not monolithic? What would you do if you wanted to create a custom stringer? Are balusters always vertical and used to support handrails? What if your particular stair just cannot be modeled in the stairs tool? Try using the nosing profile to complement the shape of your tread. Do not forget that a hand profile can be used to create a custom stringer profile with little trouble. Although balusters often support handrails, this is not always the case. Balusters may also consist of the support element that will support the tread. A complex baluster family associated with the railing as the start post can create the most complex railing conditions quickly and easily. But if all else fails, remember that there is still the family editor. Just model it the way you want it and then place it in the project. It is probably more sculpture than stair at this point. Modeling it in the family editor means that you will be able to move, elevate, rotate, and copy the results throughout the project. If you have to make changes, and you will simply open the component in the family editor. Design railings and use the railing tool for other model elements. From model patterns to geometric intricacy, there's a lot that can be created with the railing tool. When this does not work, look to the curtain wall for railings. When this does not work, look to the curtain wall for railings. When this does not work, look to the curtain wall for railings. That can contain space and allow balusters that can be conveniently
free
unlocked.
version for non-commercial use.
Master, why would you not use a railing to manage repetitive relationships? What if you need to accurately distribute geometry along a path? Solution. Modeling these railings as components in the family editor is often faster than creating groups and then copying them throughout the project. Railings are also helpful for creating geometry that needs to be distributed along paths, even if the results are not actually railings. Finally, do not use geometry when a model pattern will do. This will keep your projects light. Implement best practices. There are specific best practices when creating a custom stairs and railings. Pay attention to nested geometry, maintaining the right level of detail, and filtering schedules so the metadata ends up in the right place. Master, it is possible to create solutions efficient. It is possible to create solutions that are too efficient. What is the big deal with detail levels? Finally, what is the most important thing to remember before creating an elegant workaround? An elegant workaround. Solution. You are not the only person working on the project. Design is a team sport. And any out-of-the-box exceptions to the rules need to be understood by the entire team. Over-modeling is often misunderstood by the team to mean too much geometry. But geometry is critically important to understanding how your design is going to be assembled. So if you will take the time to assign levels of detail to components, it will help refresh reviews, and it'll help refresh views and printing. Finally, remember that the best solution is the one that is implementable. If your team does not understand your hack, you are not being a team player, and the project may ultimately suffer. If your team does not understand your hack, you are not being a team player, and the project may ultimately suffer. Chapter 17, Detailing Your Design. Create details. Details in Revit are a combination of 2D elements layered on top of 3D model elements, and sometimes just stacked on top of each other. Creating good, easy-to-read details typically requires some embellishment of the 3D model.
Created with free version for non-commercial use.
Wholeheartedly, I enjoy embellishment of the 3D models. It could very well be my forte. Master it. What are the three primary categories of detail elements and how are they used? Solution. Detail lines are used to create two-dimensional line work of various weights and styles. They are used for creating much as you would draft in a CAD application. Filled regions and masking regions are the only two region types that are used to apply patterns, even if that pattern is a solid white field against your details. These can help maintain, and they can also help to show context, such as materiality. Components such as detail components and detail groups are used to create 2D families that can be used and reused in a variety of details within the model. They are historically used to create elements such as blocking, metal stud, metal deck, and so on. Add detail components to families. You can make created and also you can create making creations and make creating details in Revit easier by adding some of the detail elements directly to the family. In this way, when you cut sections, make call-outs, or enlarge plan conditions, your smart detail can begin to construct themselves. Master it. Because you don't always want elements to appear in every scale of a view, you can both add detail elements to your families and still limit the amount of information that is shown in any given view. Solution. Using the detail levels, coarse, medium, and fine, you can control the visibility of any element within a family to show or not show at those settings. By controlling the level, you can keep the family simple in a coarse view and add more detail as the drawing gets increasingly complex. Learn efficient detailing. As you master detailing in Revit, you begin to learn tips and tricks to make your process of creating details more efficient. Master it. To help you assess how much effort you should be putting into your details, what are the 3 questions you should be asking yourself before starting any detail? Solution. Before starting any detail, ask yourself these questions.
Version for non-commercial use.
Will I see or use this in other views in the project? Will it affect other aspects of the project, like material takeoffs? How large is it? Reuse details from other files. In many project workflows, you will need to incorporate details from other projects. Reusing these details can aid in the speed and efficiency of the project documentation. Master, there are several ways to reuse details from other projects. Name one and list the steps to perform the tasks necessary to quickly move a detail from one project to another. Solution. Here are the steps to save those views and to save the views from one project to another to use in another project. This content is copyrighted. This content is copyrighted. This content is copyrighted. Those are the steps. Master it. There are several ways to reuse details from other projects, inclusive of this one. It took effort to read this. It's not free. Subscribe to my line of reasoning. Master it. There are several ways to reuse details from other projects.
Created
Name
with
one
free version for
and list the
non-commercial
steps
use.
to perform the task necessary to quickly move a detail from one project to another. I don't intend to embed this anywhere. I intend to say it. Solution. Here are the steps to save views from one project for use in another project. Don't let them use it. Starting by opening the file with the views you want to save, click the application and select Save as Library Views. To save views, dialog box shows a list of view names on the left and a preview window on the right. Click the checkbox for each of the views you want to save into a separate file. Click OK. To import the views, open the project you'd like to import the views into and choose Insert from File from the Insert tab. Choose Invert Files from View. In the resulting dialog box, you will have a list of the views you can import from the column on the left of a preview of those views on the right. Select the box for the views you want to import and click OK, and wish that Chapter 18 through 20 could be read by somebody else that can read as well as I can.
Created with free version for
Chapter
non-commercial
18,
use.
Documenting your design. Document plans. With floor plans, you can create visual graphics to help define how a space is laid out. However, Revit provides other tools such as area plans to help you describe space. Master it. List the 4 types of area plans you can create and note that the 2 that Revit creates automatically. Solution. The 4 types of area plans are rentable area, gross area, usable area, and BOMA area. The software provides automatic calculations to show rentable and gross areas. Create layers and schedules. Schedules are another view type. They allow you to show information about the model in a non-graphic format. Schedules can also be used to dynamically report quantities of elements inside the model. Master it. Understand how to create schedules and report additional information about the elements in the model. How would you create a simple casework schedule showing quantities of types? Solution. Here are the steps to create a schedule within Revit. On the View tab, choose Schedule Quantities from the Schedule button. Choose Casework as a schedule category. On the Fields tab, choose Family and Type followed by Quantity. On the Sorting tab, choose to sort by family and type and make every family member hang around town. Make sure you itemize every instance is checked. When that is done, click OK. Sort. Choose to sort by family. Layout sheets. Eventually in a project you will need to make your bed. You 7 little mongrels. Layout sheets, you little couch potatoes. Eventually in a project it will become necessary to take care of yourself. To create sheets that will become the documentation set. Eventually, knowing how to create a good sheet set provides you with another venue to communicate with contractors, clients, and other team members. Master it. To properly create a sheet set, you need to understand the dynamics of adding views to a sheet. In the Revit environment, there is only one way to add views to a sheet. What is it? Solution. Views can be added to a sheet by dragging them from the project browser and dropping them onto the sheet.
Created with free version for
But don't beat the crap
non-commercial
out of your
use.
kids because they don't clean their room. From that point, they can be edited or manipulated to properly place them in relative to the other views that appear on that sheet. Chapter 19. Annotating your design. Annotate with text and keynotes. Although a picture is worth 1,000 words, you still need notes to make drawings understandable, and be able to call out key elements in each view. Know this. Know how to create and modify text and keynotes for a complete set of documents. Master it. To properly use the keynoting feature, you'll need to understand what each of the 3-note keynote types do and how they play keynote all the time. And that's all they do. List each and explain how they can be used in the project other than just playing keynote all the time. Solution. Element keynotes annotate assemblies such as walls, floors, and roofs. Material keynotes designate materials within Revit, such as concrete, gypsum board, or rigid insulation. User keynotes are not tied to an element or a material and can be used to note other aspects of the view or detail. Use tags. Tags are text labels for elements such as doors, windows, walls, rooms, and several other objects that are architects, and they typically need to reference in a set of drawings. These tags typically refer to other schedules or information of the portions of the drawing set and are unique to the view in which they are inserted. Master. Inserting tags quickly can be a good way to make documentation time more efficient. How can you quickly tag a number of elements in the model at the same time? Solution. Use the Tag All tool. This tool allows you to load several tags for different elements at the same time and populate a view with all those tags at once. You will probably need to manipulate the location of some of the tags, but most should place clean and accurate, saving you time and other portions of the project. Add dimensions. Dimensioning is a critical part of the project documentation, allowing you to communicate the design elements are from one another, the distance that they are from one another. Paper thin. Master it. Adding dimensions is a necessary part in any project. However, in a project workflow, you would typically want to change the location of a dimensions witness line without having to recreate the entire dimension. How do you move a witness line without remaking the entire dimension? Solution. Don't make the same mistakes twice. Highlight the dimension string and grab the blue grip to the text string. By clicking and holding this element, you can now select a new host for the witness line. Set project and shared parameters. Revit Architectural lets users add as many custom parameters to an element as are needed to document the project. These parameters can be both tagged and schedules depending on how they are made. Master it. You need to add a custom parameter for your project to track the percentage of recycled content in materials. What is the best way to go about doing this? Solution. Since the items you want to track need to be scheduled but not tagged, it's easiest to do this with a project parameter. Add one of the projects for a percentage of recycled content and then track that in a multi-category schedule showing all the material types you want to track. Chapter 20, working in the construction phase. Add revisions to your project. You need the ability to track changes in your design as the sheets have been issued. Adding revisions to a drawing is an inevitable part of your workflow. Master it. How do you indicate revisions on a drawing sheet? Solution. First, a revision must be created in the sheet issues revisions dialog box. Then a revision cloud is drafted in either an active view or a sheet. The revision cloud is assigned to one of the project revisions in the properties palette. Finally, the revision cloud is tagged. The revisions are automatically tracked in revision schedules that are part of the title block using digital markups. DWFs provide a lightweight means to digitally transfer and mark up multiple sheets in a document set. Explain the workflow using DWF markups. Solution. Once your views are drawn and placed on sheets, export the sheets to a DWFX format. You can then be shared or be sharing them with other members of your team for markup. Others will open the DWFX file in Design Review and create the comments and then send the marked up set back to the design team. We have a 2-hour limit. This set is then linked back into the drawing set and the markups will be visible on the drawing sheets. Model for construction. Parts and assemblies allow a model element to be broken down into similar parts or smaller parts, or even itty-bitty ones. These sub-elements can be used in more detailed ways for the construction process while still maintaining their association with the original element. I still haven't heard her valedictorian speech. Master it. Describe the development or the method for breaking down a design-based model assembly into its individual components. Solution. Select the wall, floor, or ceiling and use the Create Parts tool. The view may need to be set to show parts. Once parts are created, they can be divided, merged, or excluded. Chapter 21. Presenting your design. Understanding color fill legends. Color fills are a great way to illustrate data that otherwise might appear only in a schedule, such as department assigned, designed areas, and room finishes. Master it. There are a variety of ways to graphically display information using color
Created with
fills.
free version
It can
for
initially take a
non-commercial
bit
use.
of time to get things organized, but once you create this legend, they can easily be transferred between views and projects. Describe how to add a color fill legend to your project template. Once created to your project template. Solution: to add a color fill legend from a project to your project template, add it to a view and add the view to a sheet. Legends can be transferred like schedules. Once they are added to a sheet, they can be copied to the clipboard and then pasted to the sheet in the project template. This will transfer all the colors, fonts, and other settings from the project to the template. Use 3D model views in your presentation. Revit provides a variety of ways to help you visualize your designs, both while designing and during presentation. Understanding where these features are located and how and when to use them can help expedite the presentation process depending on the look and feel you want to create with your images. Master it. Describe the process for creating an exploded 3D view of each level within your project. Solution: after adjusting the view range of your plane views to accommodate the actual bottom of the level up to the top, open 3D view and right-click the view cube, select Orient to View, and choose the floor plan for each level. Work with viewport types. Viewport types are simple to manage, but they are powerful when applied to the views and placed on sheets. You can customize the view for any use case. You can customize the view titles for any use case, from design presentations to construction documents. Master it. Describe the process for adding a new viewport type to your project. Solution: after placing a view on a sheet, select the view and click Edit Type in the Properties palette. Click Duplicate and create a uniquely named type. Once you have modified the settings, apply the new type to other views by selecting a viewport and picking the new type from the type selector. Create exploded axonometric views. Create exploded axonometric views. The Displaced Elements command is used to create exploded axonometric views that used to be drafted by hand or created manually in a separate model. Understand the best ways to use this tool to help visualize and communicate ideas. Master it. Describe the process for creating a displaced view. Solution: starting in a 3D view, select elements to visually displace. The selections will be based on how you would like to see the elements grouped as you move them around within the view. By selecting elements and then selecting the displaced elements tool, you can begin staging your axonometric view. Chapter 22, Design Analysis. Embrace energy analysis concepts. Understanding the concepts behind sustainable design is an important tool of being able to perform analysis within the Revit model and a critical factor in today's design environment. Master it. What are 4 key methods for holistic sustainable design? Solution: 4 key methods for a sustainable solution are: 1. Understanding the building's climate. 2. Reducing building loads. 3. Using free energy when possible to power those loads. And 4. Using efficient systems. Analyze your model for energy performance. Analyze your model for energy performance. Being able to predict a building's energy performance is a necessary part of designing sustainability. Although Revit does not have an energy modeling application built into it, it does have interoperability with many applications that have that functionality. Master it. Explain the steps you need to get to a Revit model ready for energy analysis. Solution: the steps are as follows. Make sure the building has walls, floors, and roofs. These all need to meet and join so there are no unrealistic gaps in the model. Make sure each of these regions in the model has a room element inserted into it and that the room element's height is set to the bottom of the floor above. Add a location to your building to ensure the correct environmental variables are taken into account. Generate an energy model and run the analysis using Insight. Once the analysis is complete, you can further refine the final model. Analysis of your model can be used for daylighting performance. Take 2. Analyze your model for daylighting performance. Understanding the concepts behind daylighting analysis is an important part of sustainable design. It is more than just understanding how light comes into a space. It is also understanding how the exterior and interior building design can help to bring light deeper into a building and provide a better quality of lighting overall.
With free version
Master,
for non-commercial
what
use.
are the 4 primary items to consider when you're looking to perform accurate daylighting analysis? Solution: transmittance, sheets of glass, materiality, blondie. Solution: transmittance, sheets of glass, materiality, and color. Transmittance. This describes how much light the glazing on the building will allow into the space. Sheets of glass. More sheets of glass will help energy consumption but can limit daylighting potential. Materiality. Once the light in the building or space is lit, the material it comes into contact with will impact how the light bounces around inside the room. Highly reflective materials can also create glare problems. So finding the right balance of reflectivity and diffusion is critical, especially when some of these blondes in these offices can confuse folks. They'll get nothing done. They act differently when the blonde comes into the board meeting. Materiality. Cut. Materiality. Materiality. A woman is an object. A woman is
Created
an
with
object.
free version for
Materiality.
non-commercial use.
You treat women like objects. Materiality. Once the lighting, materiality. You treat women like objects. Materiality. Once the light is in the building or space, the materials it comes into contact with will impact how the light bounces around inside the room. Highly reflective materials can also create glare problems. So finding the right balance of reflectivity and diffusion is critical. You can't let them catch you staring at their ass. You can't let them catch you staring at them. Materiality. Once the light is in the building or space, the materials it comes into contact with will impact how the light bounces around inside the room. You can't gawk at them and look straight down at their crotch when they come into the office. It's obvious if you're going to be sitting there trying to determine whether a woman is intellectual or not. If you're going to be staring at their tits all day long, it's not a very, 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 very professional thing to do. Analyze your model for daylighting performance, and what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Materiality. Once it's in the building or space, usually you can see it in their eyes, though, right? Ordinarily, you can tell a woman is in love with you by the way she looks at you in her eyes.
For
Not the way she's not going to look right down your crotch. She's going to look in your eyes and tell you whether or not she loves you or not. So once the light enters the building, cut! Take two. Analyze your model for daylighting performance. Materiality. Once the light is in the building or space, the materials it comes into contact with will impact how the light bounces around inside the room. Highly reflective materials can also create large glare problems. So finding the right balance of reflectivity and diffusion is critical. Color. Different colors of material will have different reflectivity and lighting values. Appendix B. Tips, trips, and tricks and troubleshooting. I'm going to leave that for the ladies. I hope you enjoyed my lecture. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Created with free version for non-commercial use.